AugustaMetroChamber.com.
For all of your screen needs, call Christian Metal Screens.
News 12, voted best weather coverage by the Georgia Association of Broadcasters. From the station that's on your side, this is News 12, first at 4.
First at 4, with more storms heading our way tomorrow, we're learning more about our last round of severe weather. Just into our newsroom, some pictures out of Blackville. The National Weather Service confirming now this damage you see was from a microburst and not a tornado, but the damage can be just as bad. Our first alert meteorologist, Anthony Carpino, joining us now. And Anthony,
evening, 50s turn into what we're seeing in the mid-50s as we go all the way through about midnight, but then we'll fall back into the 40s as we go through portions of tomorrow morning. We'll talk more about that severe risk coming up in about 10 minutes. Richard, back over to you.
Anthony, thanks. First at 4, the area has seen its share of school threats. Students arrested, parents notified, but the threats keep coming. News 12's Will Rio live in our newsroom. And Will, you spoke with Columbia County's Board of Education police chief to find out if there's a way to bring the number of these threats down. What did he tell you?
Well, that's right. Well, this is the first year the Columbia County School District has had an established police force to handle threats and weapons on campus. The chief of police tells me they're doing everything they can to keep kids safe while they're at school. But every week we get those parent letters from both Columbia and Richmond County schools about a social media threat, school threat, or a student bringing a weapon to school. Right now in Columbia County, they have school resource officers in every school, 2 in every high school, working to keep an eye out for this kind of behavior that we're seeing in these letters. They go through training year-round with teachers, students, and the sheriff's office. Their biggest message to parents and students is to know what you are and what you are not allowed to bring to school. Officers are stressing how important it is that if you see something, say something.
And not everything that you report is a criminal matter, but everything needs to be looked into, because we're looking at the safety of the most precious thing everybody has is their children. And that's what's important now, is that every child is safe and has a good learning environment.
And coming up all new on News 12 at 6 o'clock, we're breaking down what some of those consequences are if a student makes one of those threats to school, another student, or if they bring a weapon on campus.
Good advice there, Will. Thanks for the update there. We'll hear much more from you a little later on. The Richmond County Sheriff's Office, meanwhile, searching for a couple of suspects in an October murder at Olmsted Homes. Investigators say the shooting happened on the 2100 block of B Street back on the 15th of October. When deputies got there, they found 22-year-old Kyan Bowie shot multiple times and sitting in a white Kia. 20-year-old Lawrence Stevens and Jamari Williams both have active warrants for murder and possession of a firearm during the commission of a crime. Call the Richmond County Sheriff's Office if you've seen these people. Damar Hamlin discharged from the hospital today. The Bills posting that to their official Twitter today, saying doctors are confident Damar can be safely discharged. What a run, what a recovery it's been for him. They say medical staff will continue his rehab at home and with the Bills. Hamlin had to be revived right there on the field after collapsing in the game against the Cincinnati Bengals back on the 2nd of January. He was treated at a Cincinnati hospital, then transported back to Buffalo on Monday. U.S. flights are back in the air after another rough morning. They were grounded until 9 o'clock this morning. This one blamed an outage at the FAA's Notice-to-Air missions system. Flights were grounded for about an hour. While the system is up and running, the situation is not completely resolved. The outage scrambled flights from coast to coast, creating a huge mess at airports that's still unfolding right now. One passenger stranded at Hartsfield-Jackson in Atlanta almost missed a family funeral.
It was supposed to be like 11 or 12 when we landed. Now it's going to be 2, and we're missing the first week for a funeral.
You're missing a funeral?
Yes, ma'am. Right now.
So what do you do when you get on the ground?
I mean, today there's 2, luckily, so that's where we're going to go. It's the second one.
And President Biden has been briefed on the issue. The FAA working to find out what caused that outage this morning. Check out this video that Jay Blackman took as he was ready to head to Atlanta. Passengers on this Delta flight from Orange County, California to Atlanta getting quite a scare last night. The plane forced to abort takeoff at the last second when flames shot out of that engine, and then thick smoke started pouring out. There were 164 people on board the plane. Thankfully, no injuries there. The Richmond County Sheriff's Office searching for a man in an aggravated assault case. They're looking for 36-year-old Hassan Hopgood. He's wanted for an aggravated assault that happened December the 30th, Deansbridge Road at Milledgeville Road. Take a look at the screen here. He's 5'6", 135 pounds, black hair, brown eyes. If you see him, call the Richmond County Sheriff's Office. Big day in South Carolina where Governor
Blood with a blood connection and find out what it really means to be rewarded.
The Federal Trade Commission says Americans lost more than $2 billion in 2021 from imposter scams. A scam gaining popularity again has con artists convincing people they might go to jail. Jennifer Borasso reports.
I was terrified. I was so scared that I was going to be arrested.
Sarah Rabe is referring to this phone call.
This is Deputy Johnson. I'm contacting you from the Warrants and Citations Division.
The caller said there was a warrant out because she didn't show up for jury duty and had to pay up.
If I did not pay, then I would be arrested and detained.
To avoid arrest, she was directed to transfer $2,500 through a popular payment app, but later found out the whole thing was a scam.
When you send money to somebody using one of these apps, a lot of times you can't get your money back because you're authorizing that transaction.
Melanie McGovern is with the Better Business Bureau and says it's a common scam. The FBI put out alerts this year warning that con artists are impersonating officials from a number of agencies, even texting or emailing fake badges to trick potential victims.
The thing that's scary about it is the second you think it's actually law enforcement, you're not really thinking straight.
McGovern says be suspicious of calls, texts, or emails asking for money, especially if they claim to be from law enforcement or a government agency.
The first thing you want to do is you want to hang up and actually call that agency yourself just to make sure that it's real.
This guy, one, he took my money, but then he's trying to target other people too.
Rabe is sharing her story, hoping to keep others from becoming a victim of this scam. Jennifer Borasso, CBS News, Pittsburgh.
Also today, you may already realize this, but scientists now say listening to music can improve your mood. A University of Vienna study finds music is associated with lower levels of stress. They analyzed adults during the coronavirus lockdowns. That was between April and May of 2020, so a tough time to be locked inside. The study found those reporting the highest levels of chronic stress were the ones benefiting the most from an improved mood, higher energy levels after a dose of music. It is good therapy. Anthony.
Gotta love the music, and maybe take the music outside and enjoy that as well. It's gonna help you pretty good there. Maybe not tomorrow afternoon to be outside. We're gonna be talking about some stronger to severe storms. We do have a first alert in effect for a good majority of the CSRA. We'll talk about that one more time when we come back.
And if you like launching things, this next project is for you. Just check with your parents before you try this. Our latest science experience is coming up.
For the top brands at the lowest prices, visit Davis Appliance and Furniture.
For months, respiratory viruses have had a real grip on the U.S. First RSV, then the flu came along, and as cases for those viruses seem to be trending down, COVID is once again showing signs of a winter surge. In today's Health Minute, Mandy Gaither looks at the latest concern.
In the U.S., flu season still in full swing, but as rates for this virus trend down, the number of COVID-19 cases is ticking up.
This is a new emerging subvariant, and it has risen very quickly across the country.
1 in 5 Americans now live in a county the CDC considers to have a high community level of COVID-19, but only about 15% of those eligible for an updated booster have gotten it, and about 20% of people in the U.S. are completely unvaccinated against COVID-19.
People who have gotten that updated bivalent booster, all the evidence so far suggests that they're still protected against even this XBB.1.5.
That Omicron subvariant has quickly taken hold in the Northeast, and health experts are watching to see if it will spread to other parts of the country too. With at-home rapid tests and cases not being reported, the exact COVID-19 burden on the U.S. is unclear. However, some data suggests viral levels in wastewater are increasing. Hospitalization numbers have now surpassed last summer's BA.5 wave, and seniors are being hit particularly hard.
Obviously, right now, COVID is the thing that is increasing that we need to pay most attention to.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
January is also Cervical Cancer Awareness Month, a time to remind you to take those preventative measures against that cancer. 4,000 women die of cervical cancer every year, with 13,000 new cases diagnosed. Doctors say there are three main risk factors for cervical cancer: smoking, sexual history, and HPV. HPV, the most common cause.
The main source of cervical cancer is human papillomavirus. It is a virus. It's transmitted sexually through skin-to-skin contact. And so HPV can be prevented by getting HPV vaccine series as young people, but it also can be prevented by screening.
Screening for cervical cancer is done through a pap smear, and doctors also say there are not many warning signs for that kind of cancer, which is really why it's so important to take those preventative measures. U.S. birth rates continue dropping following decades of a long trend. A lower percentage of women between the ages of 15 to 44 giving birth between 2015 to 2019 compared to the 5 years before that. There were also fewer men who became fathers when comparing the same time frame. Easy access to birth control, an increase in women in higher education, and just the expense of raising children, all factors in the downward trend. The Walt Disney Company celebrating 100 years with some new enhancements at its theme parks. All ticketed guests will soon be able to download all PhotoPass or attraction photos for free on the Disneyland app for California. And the park is adding more lower price tickets throughout the year in Florida. At Walt Disney World in Florida, free self-parking is coming back to the resort hotels. At California's Disneyland, guests with Magic Key Passes or Park Hopper tickets will be able to go between the resorts to parks starting at 11 o'clock in the morning. That's 2 hours earlier than before. So changes for the better for those who love all things Disney.
I heard cheaper on the way for Disney, so anytime you can get a little bit cheaper to get to go to some of those parks, I guess we're going to take that for sure. But over the next couple of days, may not be the best idea to be heading out to any of those outdoor activities. We are going to see some stronger to severe weather as we go through tomorrow afternoon. We do have that marginal to slight risk for stronger storms across the CSRA. We'll talk about this one more time when we come back.